So let's talk about it. The one question that keeps people up at night, that causes more stress than almost anything else. How much house can you actually afford? Not what the bank pre-approves you for, not what your friends are buying, but what really, truly fits your life without making you broke. Let's dive in. Oh, we've all been there, haven't we? It's the new national pastime. You're scrolling through listings, you find it, the perfect kitchen, the backyard you've always dreamed of, and then reality hits. That price tag. It can feel completely out of reach. Today, we're going to try to bridge that gap between the Zillow dream and the real-world dollar signs. And this is the big trap. You get that email, that letter from the bank. It says you're approved for a massive, eye-watering number, maybe 700 grand. And you think, wow, I did it. But hold on, because the difference between what a lender is willing to give you and what you can comfortably afford without panicking every time the boiler makes a funny noise, that difference is huge. To really figure this out, the first thing we have to do is take the old rulebook and pretty much toss it out the window. The financial advice that worked for our parents or grandparents, it just doesn't cut it in the world we're living in today. You've definitely heard of this one. It's the classic rule that gets quoted all the time, the 28% rule. The idea is simple. Your total housing payment, your mortgage, your taxes, all of it, shouldn't be more than 28% of your income before taxes. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, the problem is, it's dangerously outdated. And this slide just lays it all out. That rule was born in a totally different financial universe. Back then, people didn't have hundreds of dollars a month going to car payments, student loans the size of a mortgage, and a dozen different subscriptions bleeding them dry. Our monthly budgets are just crowded in a way they never used to be, which makes that 28% number almost meaningless today. So, if the old rules are broken, what should we be looking at? Well, it starts with a really simple but crucial idea. The mortgage payment is just the beginning. It's only the tip of a very, very expensive iceberg. I absolutely love this way of putting it. When you buy a house, the monthly payment is just the appetizer. It's what gets you in the door. But the main course, the dessert, the ridiculously overpriced drinks, that's everything else that comes with owning a home. And here's the whole expensive meal. You've got property taxes, which, by the way, only ever seem to go up. You've got homeowner's insurance. Maybe you've got HOA fees. But the real budget killers are the wild cards, maintenance and repairs. Your roof will leak, your water heater will die. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So how do you even plan for that chaos? A really solid rule of thumb is the 1% rule. Basically, you should expect to spend about 1% of your home's total value on maintenance every single year. So on a $500,000 house, that's $5,000 a year. Or over $400 a month you need to be setting aside just for when things inevitably break. And this chart really drives the point home. Look at this. The actual mortgage payment, the part that pays down your loan and builds equity, is only about 60% of your real monthly cost. The other 40%, a huge chunk, just vanishes into taxes, insurance, and maintenance. This is the stuff that makes people house poor. All right, now that we understand the true all-in cost, let's see what that means for the average person in the US. And I'll warn you, this is where the numbers get, well, honestly, a little depressing. Let's start here. The median household income in the United States is roughly $80,000. That means half of all families make more than this and half make less. This is our benchmark for the typical American family's earning power. Okay, keep that $80,000 number in your head. Now look at this. The median price for a home in the US is over $400,000. Right away, you can see there's a pretty big disconnect here. And there it is. Just let that sink in. The average person earning the average income cannot afford to buy the average house. The fundamental math of the American dream of homeownership is, well, it's broken for a huge number of people. It's a shocking reality check. So, what do you do? If the old rules are useless and the numbers look impossible, how do you even begin to think about buying a home? We need a new playbook, one that's designed for today's reality. This chart right here explains the biggest trap of all. See, lenders base your approval on your gross income, your salary before taxes. But you don't live on your gross pay. You live on your take-home pay. So the bank sees $10,000 a month and says, sure, you can handle a $4,500 debt payment, but your actual take-home pay is only $7,000. That affordable payment is suddenly eating up almost 2/3 of your cash. It's a recipe for disaster. And that's all before you even get the keys. First, you have to run this brutal financial gauntlet. You need a massive down payment. We're talking $100,000 in cash for a $500,000 house. Then another $10,000 to $25,000 for closing costs. And on top of that, you need an even bigger emergency fund than you had before, because now you're the one paying for a new roof. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to talk about. Sometimes buying just doesn't make sense. Look at the math. The mortgage might look cheaper than the rent, but once you add in taxes, insurance, and that maintenance fund we talked about, you could easily be paying almost $1,000 more each month to own the exact same house you could be renting. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be ruthless with your own budget, because the bank isn't your friend. They aren't your financial advisor. They're a business, and their goal is to lend you as much money as possible. Your goal is totally different. It's to build a life you can actually afford, and a house that brings you peace of mind, not constant stress. And only you can decide what that really looks like.